This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Mark Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals, following news that the company have commenced drilling on their ZigZag lithium property. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Mark. And I must congratulate you on your marathon session last night, which I did mostly watch.
Thank you very much. Yes, 2 hours of live broadcasting with 3 exploration companies. I know you have been on one of our premieres before, but they're always fun to do. And of course, we saw each other only last week over in London. We've talked a number of times about wanting to be active on at least one of your properties before year end. And well, here we are. You're active, and I think probably the market knew it was going to be ZigZag given some of the discussions that we had, but here we are, the official announcement that you are drilling at ZigZag. So, I mean, you've achieved your objective. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling that the company can stand proud, Mark. I really am. We started the year off saying that we wanted to bring 4 of our properties to drill-ready status, and with the intention of drilling 1, and we've accomplished that. So I feel even in these terrible market conditions for raising money, we've forged ahead and achieved what we wanted to do in order to try and advance shareholder value, not that currently it's being reflected in the share price, of course.
Indeed. Well, I mean, just reading the RNS yesterday, you've got this EEA, haven't you, this early exploration agreement with the First Nation White Sands there, and they actually commented in the RNS, didn't they, saying that they were looking very much forward to supporting First Class Metals and looking forward to what 2024 brings. I mean, it is very important to have these First Nations on side. So have you found everything to be quite, the discussions have gone fairly well with these guys?
I'm buoyed by the way it's gone with White Sands, and the listeners will have seen, I'm sure, last week we put out a similar release that we'd signed an exploration agreement with Netmazagami First Nations in the Hemlo area, and they put out a similar complimentary quote, shall we say. We've got 6 active permits at the moment, and I think for a company that's barely been listed 12 months to have 6 approved by the government, by the First Nations permits, is quite an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah. So you signed this agreement to drill, is it up to 500 metres? It's with Rodder and Drilling, who are a White Sand First Nations approved service provider. I think that's also very important there. But it's good to see that White Sand have got, partnerships with these guys. It shows they are keen to have exploration on their properties and share in that upside potential. So could you take us through perhaps this initial drill program here? Because the RNS talks about initially 7 drill holes of about 50 metres are planned, but then you said provision for a deeper step back based on visual encouragement. So just talk us through how this has been planned and how it's going to work.
Yes, okay. Well, the pure maths, 7 times 50 is 350. So that theoretically leaves us 150 metres if we run up to the 500 metres. So the idea is we've got the drill holes roughly spaced along that core 400 metre section of the property where we've either channeled or had grab samples of encouragement. So those will be the initial 7 holes. Okay. And as long as those don't run on past the 50 metres, obviously if we're in pegmatite at 50 metres, then we will carry on drilling. But on the basis that those don't run past 50 metres or possibly pull up short after drilling 50 metres of solid pegmatite, yes, we can hope. That would allow us to pick the better visual drill hole and say, right, currently we're going to be drilling at 45 degrees declination. Then we could go back to the same drill pad and maybe put a hole in at 60 degrees and intersect it deeper down, dip or plunge. So that's the idea. But I mean, the one thing I say to people, and I've had a number of discussions with EGS, Emerald Geological Services, about the drill program, and I always say it's an evolving thing, a drill program. And the first drill hole, you have to squeeze as much information out of that first drill hole as possible, because you're basing the rest of the drill program on that first hole. In fact, that's the look-see one. And if there's any surprises, then you've got to think, hold on, how do we adapt hole number 2 on the basis of what we learned in hole number 1? So as I say, the drill program evolves. You can't just put it down in black and white and entomb it in stone.
Sure. So stepping back then means hopefully going back to the ones that are more attractive on a visual appearance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, another rule of thumb that I have, Mark, is step back once visually, step back second time on geochemistry. In other words, you wouldn't do a third hole, a deeper hole, until you had the geochem back. If it looks good, okay, let's go for it. But let's wait until we get the numbers before we go deeper again.
Okay. And in terms of where these drills are actually going to go, you identified a number of pegmatites, or are you sort of going on one particular sort of strike and trying to find the concentrating of the body?
The drill holes are targeted, as I say, at channel samples or grab samples that had plus 1% within them. I mean, obviously, the channel 7 had 5.5 meters at 2.5% lithium oxide. So that's definitely going to have a drill hole underneath it. And as I think I recounted to you previously, the reason it was only 5.5 meters long was because the guys manually couldn't pull the tree roots up any further to get more outcrop to channel more. So we are hoping for some pleasant surprises once we start drilling.
Okay, and just to get a visual image of where it's going to be, how sort of spaced out are the drills going to be? Is it over a large area or a fairly small area?
As I say, it's about just over 400 meters from the most westerly to the most easterly. So we've got seven along that. So you're looking at 50-ish meters. They're not exactly spaced, because there's areas where there was no outcrop, and so we couldn't sample. So this is a verification type scout drill program. In other words, we want to make sure that what we're seeing in the grabs and the samples has legs, has depth, a third dimension. So we're not going to drill into areas where we haven't yet been able to surface sample.
Okay, yes. So it's based off of your channel and grab sampling there. You say there are some outcrops at surface though, where you can you can see them, they're there, and you can go straight into them. And the other ones have been determined by grab samples. And you don't know yet, I suppose, whether it's multiple pegmatites or ore bodies, or whether it's one sort of contiguous system.
They have a strange morphology, pegmatites. And of course, when you throw in structure, but it could be that we're developing sigmoids in plan section along the contact. Whether these are also morphologically in the third dimension, we don't know at this stage. But if you look into the morphology of pegmatites, quite often they're not the thickest at the surface. I mean, I'm not trying to sound delusionally optimistic here, but sometimes as the fluid comes up, and it is quite sort of restrained, it reaches a level of buoyancy and it starts to spread out. It's called a lopalith type structure. So, and then that can still carry on to a little pointy bit. But of course, we don't know where we are, the current surface relative to the paleo surface when these things form. So it really is a look and see, but it's a look and see to verify it. This really is our first step into the unknown. Yeah. And on the basis of this, but we prove that the surface samples are real, then it's the next drill program, which I think will be the Bobby Dazzler.
The Bobby Dazzler. Yes, well, I think you said it quite well there. It's the first look and see. It's, of course, it's early stage exploration. How long is the program planned for?
Well, excuse me. The Rotherham people feel that being as it's only short moves between holes and they're doing a double shift, it could be done in 10 days. And to be honest, it can't go on much further because the guys are breaking up for Christmas on the 18th.
Great.
So what are we today? The 7th? So yes, 10 days would be sweet.
Great.
And it also means that I get to see the last drill hole because I'm heading out there early next week.
Oh, excellent. Good. Well, let's catch up when you're out on site. That'll be fantastic, actually, if you can get, I don't know what the internet is, but you can grab some video if you can't get actual cell connection, and we can perhaps do an interview with some video of some of the drill there, the last drill being turning. So 10 days, that's great. So you'll get that completed before Christmas. Visual inspection will happen, pretty much instantly, Mark, will it?
Yes, we will be taking the core from site to a custom-built logging and cutting facility near Thunder Bay. And I would hope that we would have some news on the first hole or two. It's obviously it's going to be in the new year. There's no point putting something out between Christmas and so early January, ideally before I'm in Vancouver for VRIC. In the middle of January. So yeah, watch this space.
Okay, and then of course concrete results when you're thinking Q1?
Yes, absolutely. Before PDAC.
Before, exactly. I was going to say you want to get them before PDAC, yes, and you can go around PDAC and tell everyone. Okay, fantastic. Well, that's really good. Yes, I'm pleased you've got to that point. What else is happening in the business? Because of course you are active on one program, but you are ready on 3 others, aren't you?
That's correct. I mean, we finished the stripping a while ago on Sunbeam, and that's visually that looks really good. We've got some early results back. I think we posted one from Roy, which was 18 grams in one channel sample, and that's holding together nicely. Dead otter trend, of course, at North Hemlow, 3.7 kilometres of discontinuous gold anomalism. We've got the permit for that now, so that we can start stripping that in the spring. ESSA, we took over 1,000 soil samples along this 4-kilometre long shear, robust gold anomaly in soils. We've done just a little bit of stripping there just to get down to bedrock there. Results pending. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting field season next year.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for giving us that update. Let's I won't say Happy Christmas yet because we'll catch up next week when you are on site. But for now, thank you very much for your time. Mark Sale, CEO of First Class Metals.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.